was likely going to run anyway, because I really felt like the direction that the office has gone in has not been the right direction. That many of the cities in South King County and King County overall have been very concerned about the lack of prosecution, about the filing standards that have crept up and pushing felony crimes back down to the cities. And so when you have that lack of accountability, it drives crime up and it drives violence up. And so I believe we need to take that in a different direction and focus on accountability of offenders and protecting victims.
How do you deal with the backlog?
Well, I think actually you've got to, like anything, you've got to be methodical about it and have a strategy. I think you probably need to bring either creation of a special unit to be able to bring that down. You cannot have backlog. Cases do not get better with age. I actually filed cases, when I wasn't in trial, over time, where the older cases get, the worse they get in regard to witnesses and evidence and that kind of thing. So I think you've got to bring in people, either the creation of a new unit, really focus on getting that down to make sure that we're addressing cases when they occur or rightly after.
How do you manage this kind of nexus between homelessness and crime? Obviously, that's a big issue in downtown. A lot of people connect the two because of public safety.
That's right.
How would your approach handle that issue?
Well, people do not feel safe in downtown, and what was happening around the courthouse was absolutely unacceptable. I think we need a prosecutor that will speak up, and not just in regard to downtown Seattle, but in Olympia as well. When laws are being passed or considered that affect public safety, the King County prosecutor needs to speak up and go down there, like the previous prosecutor, Norm Mailing, who was really the gold standard of how to lead an office. And I can tell you that he was down in Olympia, as I will be, making sure that the laws passed there really reflect the will of the public. And then I would think, with regard to, you have to be a voice with not only the executive and the mayor of Seattle, the elected leaderships of Seattle and the region. But I think the region is very concerned about what's happening in downtown Seattle, and we just need to hold offenders accountable. The prosecutor's office responds to cases that are brought in the door, and when they're brought in, we need to be able to respond.
So you said it hasn't been headed in the right direction. The city attorney's office has been blamed in Seattle for a lot of the repeat offenders, even though a lot of those repeat offenders are felons or people committing felony crimes.
Right.
That falls on the King County prosecutor's office.
That's right.
So what's been the issue there, since you say it's been headed in the wrong direction?
Well, I really think that being the King County prosecutor is a massive responsibility to make sure that you temper accountability with making sure that you have the ability to help people get back on track, and it's a real balancing system. But I also think that when you've got people that are repeat offenders, the prosecutor's office and the courts need to respond in a manner that prevents those type of repeat offenses. And the only way to do that is to hold people accountable and prosecute them accordingly. And so I think what's been happening is these cases are not getting filed. We've got this huge backlog, but it's not just the backlog. They have increased these standards to the point where the lower level or property crime type things are not getting prosecuted, and that leads to the car theft, burglaries, those kinds of what Norm used to call quality of life crimes.